A woman from Standish is now in Orlando, Florida, but it's not for a trip to the theme parks.
In fact, there is no one else from Maine who will be in Florida doing what she'll be doing. Rob Caldwell has the story.
On a clear, cold winter day, the view from Douglas Hill Orchard in Sebago out to the White Mountains makes you want to linger and just take it all in. But Veronica Druzniak and her mother have work to do, not outside, but in the old wooden barn, a building with plenty of charm and character, but no heat. They're here because the barn has space and a sturdy beam overhead from which to hang an aerial hoop.
This is because I'm afraid of ladders.
Veronica, who's called Ronnie by friends and family, is one of the very few people in Maine who do aerial.
I first actually started doing aerial arts during 2020 in the pandemic. My best friend bought a portable aerial rig for her backyard, and that was how we would socialize.
Aerial is demanding. It requires strength, balance, coordination, and a bit of fearlessness. With no coach, Ronnie has to figure out for herself how to get better.
My problem was I was turning my hand. I need to leave it that way, which was the issue.
Ronnie has put in hours and hours practicing her routine, and it most definitely has a purpose.
But yeah, so this is how I prep for Miss America.
That is not a throwaway line. Ronnie Druzniak is the reigning Miss Maine.
I ended up competing in 2022. I was the runner-up. I immediately aged out of the program and became too old to be Miss America, and I thought, wow, that's a fun story that I'll tell at cocktail parties someday about how once I entered a scholarship competition, and then they upped the age limit again this year, and I thought, you know, if I had a little more time to prepare and actually invested a little bit more energy into this, I wonder what would happen.
What had been your attitude toward pageants in general before you actually decided to enter?
It wasn't something that was really on my radar at all. I kind of knew Miss America, Miss USA existed, but it wasn't something that I grew up watching. It wasn't something that I was overly invested in. And then my experience at Miss Maine actually showed me that they can be a very positive experience. I've met a great network of just interesting women who are talented and driven and passionate about different things. And that's really changed my outlook on the pageantry system as a whole.
When you won, what was your reaction?
I'm pretty sure I laughed. There's a picture of me that they use as my crowning moment image where my mouth is just wide open and I'm just laughing my head off because I was so surprised.
Maybe winning the Miss Maine title shouldn't have been that much of a surprise. After all, Ronnie started taking ballet lessons at the age of 4. This was her first recital. Here she is at the age of 10. And now she dances professionally. The last few years, she's made a living performing in musical stage productions on cruise ships sailing all over the world.
So we back up the singers. We do a lot of Latin and ballroom, a lot of tricky partnering, some ballet, some musical theater jazz, a little bit of tap.
That background serves her well. She's used to performing in front of an audience, and she'll be the only Miss America contestant doing aerial in the talent portion of the pageant. But that is just part of her story.
Everyone who competes in a state or national pageant in the Miss America realm has to have a cause, or more than one. What's yours?
So I am speaking about LGBTQ rights. As a member of the queer community, that's something that's really important to me, especially with the recent waves of anti-trans legislation that have been hitting local legislatures around the country. So I'm very passionate about LGBTQ rights, about trans rights, and I'm excited to be bringing that to the Miss America stage.
Is that a cause that will fit in with the sort of traditional values that have been espoused in that world?
I don't expect that everyone will want to hear what I have to say or that everyone will agree with me. But just because people don't necessarily want to hear what you have to say or people don't agree with you does not mean what you're saying isn't vitally important.
All of which brings us back to the unheated barn. And the main character, the main grit, Ronnie Druzniak will bring with her as she represents the state in the Miss America pageant.
It is literally 35 degrees in here. You're preparing for the Miss America pageant.
Yes.
I don't know what Miss Texas is doing right now, but she's not doing anything like this.
I don't think it's quite as cold where Miss Texas is working.
That was Rob Caldwell reporting. New video for you now. Her pageant is Sunday. By the way, she won a preliminary qualifier for the talent competition. That earns her a boost in the standings and a $3,000 scholarship.
Best of luck.
Very impressive.